Show back in the building. Dr. G's Toolbox, ready to set up the topic. Go ham and eggs, Doc.
Okay, we're talking about resilience. How do you bounce back from anything? And here's a formula. If you follow this, you will be able to overcome anything. The first thing you need to do is when shit happens, you have to say to yourself, this is an opportunity to be classy. You got to say that in your head, because if you can be classy when other people aren't, you'll be different than everyone else. The next thing you need to do, I'm a shrink, you put yourself in a 72-hour hole. That means don't do anything to make it worse for 72 hours. And then during that 72 hours, you use this book, which is backwards on my live stream, Workarounds That Work by Russell Bishop. And here are the 5 steps. You follow these 5 steps, you can overcome anything. First thing is you got to own it. It's not a bad dream or a wet dream. It just happened. You got to own it. Don't beat up on anyone else. Don't waste your time beating up on yourself. The second thing is you got to say to yourself, given that this happened, this reality, what's the best outcome in the near term and the long term? What's the best result given that this crap just went down? The third thing is you ask yourself, where do I have control? What can you do where you don't need anyone else's permission? Who can you call? Who can you write to? And you don't need anyone's permission to do it. That's your control. The next thing, the fourth thing is influence. So who do you gotta influence to help you out to get that result? Stuff that's beyond you. How do you reach out to them? What do you give them so they want to help you? And finally, the last thing that Russell Bishop talks about is your response-ability. What is your ability to do those things? So those five steps: own it. What's the best result given that it just happened? What control do you have? Make that happen. And what influence do you have about other people to get them to help you? And then you just do it.
Wow, great setup. That leads us to today's topic: unbreakable. A deeper look at the internal quality of resilience. How to become unbreakable. Now, you know black folk can talk about resilience, but is there a difference between capitulation and resilience? Jesus, that's a tough question. Fuck, I did that as right? We want to talk about it, because how do you get through an experience, whether it be traumatic, whether it be just exceedingly challenging? How do you get through it without maintaining the residue of it? A lot of times what you've been through becomes your identity. Now you have to walk the fine line of being victor or victim. This is tough. That's why I had to do this show today. Right? Unbreakable. Nothing can break you. How do you get that incredible mentality? True or false? Mental strength is a difficult to define psychological concept that encompasses emotional intelligence, grit, resilience, self-control, mental toughness, and mindfulness. What the fuck is mindfulness? And why is it in the moment it's so easy to lose the grasp on mindfulness? You know, the Quran says, hold on to the rope of Allah. I'm not a Muslim, I just know the books. But I'm just saying, why is it so easy to let go of the rope of mindfulness, let go of the rope of resilience in the moment of truth when you must have resolve? Why is it so hard to do that? We're going to cover that today. True or false? One must have the right attitude towards setbacks, complications, unintended side effects, and complete failures. They must be seen as a part of the landscape leading towards success. True or false? One must have a very positive outlook on falling flat on your face. How many times have you seen somebody, or you yourself have beat yourself up because you've fallen flat on your face? Eek. Now you become an obstacle. You can't even get out your own way, Doc. Isn't that a book you wrote?
Get out of your own way.
Hey, that's what we're doing. True or false? What happens to us plays far less of a role in our happiness and success than our responses. Ooh, how the fuck you respond? Eek. Ugh. Okay, cool. So now that I've gotten all of the questions out of the way, we have an August panel. Of course, Jeff Brown, his lady, should be walking in at any moment. He had an Isley Brother rehearsal, but he should be here shortly. Regan. She corrected me on how to say her name. The actress has had a big, impact on my life when I was younger. Regan. But her name is Regan. Okay. She is our special guest today. She's going to be chiming in on resilience, that inner resolve, why we need it to be successful, and how our mind is framed around failure. Let's talk about it. You heard some of the questions. Let's go deeper, beautiful lady. Here's your microphone. Speak on it.
Yes.
We got to get Jeff Brown a seat. Here he comes.
Here comes. Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit.
She has that. So speak on it, Regan. How does one develop inner resolve?
Well, I think it's...
He's going to sit right in the middle.
I think it's a never-ending journey. I really do. I don't think that it's something which you just... Oh, God.
Pull up a chair and tear shit up. He's a football player. Clumsy.
I'm trying to catch him. Put a sweater on. You make me look fat.
Yeah. I believe it's a process. I believe it's not something where you write it on your checklist and you tick it off and you go, oh, I've figured out how to completely resolve everything internally. I've figured this out. It really is a never-ending journey, and I think as you continue to grow and develop and shift through different identities and different layers and different experiences, it's our job to be aware enough and conscious enough to take the learnings from that. I truly believe that life is throwing all of this in our paths so that we can learn from it, so that we can grow, so that we can expand, so that we can ultimately do more in this world. I mean, isn't that what it's all about? So I think it's a process.
I think people are afraid of expansion because it hurts. Oftentimes, it busts your ass. Your ass get bust.
Right.
When your ass get busted.
Wait. Your ass get B-U-S-S?
Yeah.
Watch how you riding that bike the way you're about to get your ass busted.
Exactly. There's a lot of that going on. And the difficulty in going through the fire. That's Shaka Khan, through the fire.
Come on, brother.
You see, nobody wants to go through the fire.
Nobody want to be honest about the fire.
What is the metaphor of fire? Does anybody know?
The metaphor?
Yes.
In this particular setting or this period?
Resilience.
Oh, okay.
What as it pertains to resilience, what does fire represent when they say go through the fire?
The litmus test. Fire purifies, first off.
Oh yeah.
Okay. When you're going through a fire, you're about to burn off in a spiritual, social fire. You about to burn off all the bad shit, bad friends, bad habits. You can't have bad habits when you're broke.
Attachments. Speak on it.
You can't. How am I gonna keep the shitty habit of never ever having my shit together, or never ever communing with like progressive minds? I don't ever do that, and I expect to be successful.
Wow.
Some folks, you got to figure out who the airbags are in your life. Okay? Some folks are deployed airbags. And the best thing you can say about them is that I'm walking away from you.
No, but let me add to Jeff, because that is such a salient point. You can't walk away from a lesson until you've taken the test.
Woo!
That's why they're there. So let me give context to what Jeff is saying. Yes, you walk away from them after you've learned from them. Oftentimes, people walk away because it's an irritant, or it's difficult, or it's painful. Sometimes
you got to walk through it.
You got to walk through it before you walk away from it. You see what I'm saying?
You're going to get back to it.
You're going to get back to it if you don't walk through it.
You're just going to bring some extra shit with you.
Oh, yeah. Dr. G?
This is to Jeff and any Marines out there who are stuffing with this PTSD. Because what walking through the fire means is when you're a Marine, the few, the proud, what happens is that goal of killing for freedom tethers your brain together, the way you think, the way you feel, and what you do. And when you take that gold and rip it out, and you're no longer aligned with it, you start to get untethered. And when you're out of sorts, when your thinking, your feelings, and your actions get pulled apart, and you need to be in control or you're out of control, going through the fire is surrendering to letting your brain come apart so it can reunite in the next reality. And the problem is when you're letting it come apart, you feel like you're on fire. And what happens is your mind deconfigures. The three parts of it pull apart, and they need to be tethered to the next thing. But a lot of times you can't find what the next thing is. That's why you have to work together with other people who are going through it, because anyone else who hasn't going through it, you blow them off. You'll say it's easy for you to say it didn't happen to you.
Wow. That's good shit, Doc. You're finally pulling your weight. Kevin!
Yes, piggyback on what Zoe was saying, you can't walk away from a test until you passed it. And most of the time, like when you're taking, or when the universe is showing you something that you can't get past, a lesson that you just keep going through, you'll keep going through. No matter what, even if it seems like, if you've taken a break from it, the universe will bring that shit right back around. So if you got with a woman who who you're not necessarily yoked with, or same thing with the guy, if you're going through some business stuff, any type of thing, if you're trying to quit a habit, if you're trying to do, and again, there's that word trying. The definition of try, the root meaning of try, means to lie to. So when you're trying to do something, you're literally lying to yourself. And so
That was heat.
going through these things.
He's earning his keep today. Fuck.
Today.
Today.
But no, so going through these things, this is where people develop coping mechanisms. And all that, going back to the true etymology of coping. Coping actually means to fight back. It means to punch. So literally, you have to deal with something in order to be able to get through it. That's just the meaning of it.
Wow, this is good monkey lava right now. Why is it that resilience as a thing is so elusive to most people? Has this culture sold us a dream? Has this culture sold us an imbalanced perspective of the world? Why is it that it's so elusive? There's very few people, like you hear Kobe Bryant talking about that young kid, Devin Booker, right?
70.
The boy dropped 70 points in a game. Now, a lot of people are trying to write him off because they're saying, well, they lost. He scored 70, but they still lost. But what Kobe was saying was, that is a rare mentality. The mentality of, you're not going to ever stop me. And that was Kobe's mentality.
Right.
Okay, we might lose, but what you going to do about me? Right? And not in a selfish sense, but more in a sense of, I have supreme confidence, regardless of the circumstance, that I'm going to rise. And what he was saying was, league-wide, that is a rare mentality. Why is that mentality so rare in life in general? You got people who just get overwhelmed by life, by circumstances, by situations. Doc?
One of the things that Tony Robbins says is where focus goes, energy flows. And what happens is when you get traumatized, your focus gets pulled away from you. And when your focus gets pulled away from you, you don't know where you're going or how to get there. And the problem for American society is that it's now turned into what it wants is escape and relief. It does not want to step into the fire. It doesn't want to step into the pain. Instead, all it wants